Now we are going to discuss a very interesting topic, that is development of industrial sector as a part of Indian economy and the development of industrial sector in India. So how we are going to discuss this particular topic is very important. As a part of industrial development and as a part of industrial policy in India, we are going to discuss about this particular topic, that is development of industrial sector. So, as a part of the industrial policies, means the different industrial policies that are formulated and framed by our Indian government. So, what was the main theme of those particular industrial policies, and what was the storyline of that particular industrial policies, and how and whatever the provisions are there, whatever the steps are there in those industrial policies, using them, how our Indian government have developed our industrial sector. That's what we are going to discuss in this particular video. So it is related to the industrial policy, but we are not going to discuss the entire industrial policy. We'll be discussing about the industrial policy in a separate video, but in this, as a part of industrial policy, we will be discussing about the topic how our industrial sector developed as a part of the initiatives taken under the industrial policy resolutions of Indian government. Okay, so let's begin. Industrial policy. Okay, here under industrial policy, our Indian government took many initiatives. Our Indian government has formulated and framed different provisions and rules so as to develop our industrial sector. So what are those crucial steps taken by our Indian government so as to develop the industrial sector? That's what we are going to discuss right now. So first, our Indian government took some crucial steps. So among those steps, the first step is abolition of industrial licensing. What is this industrial licensing? Why Indian government has abolished it? Basically, our Indian government has started a particular rule that every person or every firm who want to establish a particular industry or a manufacturing unit, he should get the industrial licensing, means a kind of permission from Indian government, so as to establish his own industry or manufacturing sector. That's why it was called that Indian government, the work done by Indian government in our industrial sector is equivalent to license Raj. So it was called license Raj. That's why. So India, there was a black mark on Indian government that the industrial policy of Indian government was called license Raj. But later our Indian government wanted to abolish that particular mark, black mark. So as a part of that, Indian government has abolished the industrial licensing. According to the industrial licensing, there were some industries, especially some industries were there which needed special license from Indian government so as to run their business, so as to keep their industries manufacturing and product and continuing the production. So in 1991 industrial policy resolution, except 18 industries, all other industries were exempted from getting the industrial licensing. That means there were only 18 industries which had to get the industrial license from Indian government. Except these 18 industries, all other industries were exempted from licensing. That means all other sectors of our manufacturing sector, they were exempted from getting the licenses, so they can freely establish their own manufacturing units in those particular fields. So what were those fields? Except these five, there were some fields except these five who were exempted from industrial licensing. So let us discuss those industries which were not exempted from the industrial licensing. The alcohol industry is the first one, then the cigarette industry, then the hazardous chemical industry, then electronics and aerospace industry, and industrial explosive materials. So these were the five industries which were kept mandatory to get the industrial licensing. So except these five, all other industries were exempted from industrial licensing, so they can freely establish their own industries. Then the next step taken by our Indian government was reducing the public sector importance. Okay, so Indian government has reduced the public sector importance. How Indian government has reduced the public sector importance, and why? Why? Because basically in 1956, according to our industrial policy resolution, in Schedule A, there were 17 industries. So all those 17 industries were under Indian government only. So under the administration, under the supervision of Indian government, those industries were running, and all those industries were very key industries which determined the development of industrial sector in India. But what actually was happening was that whoever was working under the government, they didn't felt the importance of developing that particular company. They didn't undertook initiatives, or they didn't undertook different ways so as to develop that particular industry. They were keen about their positions. They were just doing their work casually. They were not striving to develop that particular industry. So as a result of that, Indian government wanted to push these sectors, all these industries into a path where they could develop. So how they could be developed? There should be some competition. What kind of competition should be there? When the private entrepreneurs enter into that particular area where these public sector units are there, then their competition will emerge. And when competition emerges, then every single individual will be trying to develop his own factory or develop his own manufacturing industry. So as a result of that, development will be there. So then, according to this plan, what our Indian government has done was that it reduced the public sector importance. It didn't wanted to give much more importance to public sector industries. So as a part of that, our Indian government has reduced the number of industries in Schedule A. So in Schedule A, according to the Industrial Policy Resolution of 1956, in Schedule A there were 17 industries, but they were reduced to 8 industries in 1991 Industrial Policy Resolution. So what were those 8 industries which were under the public control, which means which were under the government control as public sector organizations, and they were in Schedule A. So those 8 industries are the arms and ammunition industry, the atomic energy industry, the coal and lignite, minerals, mining, iron, manganese, gypsum, sulfur, gold and diamond, all these things, even copper, lead, zinc, and even the atomic fuels and railway transport. So all these 8 industries were under the control of government, so hence they were public sector industries only. Except these 8, all other industries were given full freedom, that the private entrepreneurs could enter into that particular field, and they can establish their own firms in those fields. And as a result of that, the competition emerged there, and as a result of that, because of the competition, the Indian industries were just going in the way of development. Then what happened next was that, as per the 1991 Industrial Policy Resolution, so as per the 1991 Industrial Policy Resolution, Indian government wanted to reduce the importance of public sector undertakings. So as a part of that particular initiative, it started to disinvest. What is disinvestment? Disinvestment is nothing but so as to reduce the investment made by Indian government in the public sector units, so as to reduce the investment made by the government in the public sector units. So what kind of investment it will be, and how that particular investment can be taken back? Through selling the public shares. Okay, through selling the public shares, they can disinvest. So selling of public shares is one of the step as a part of disinvestment. There are so many other ways of disinvesting. So one of the method of disinvesting is selling public shares. So the Indian government undertook disinvestment in December 1991. Okay, so as a part of reducing the importance given to public sector undertakings, Indian government started to disinvest especially in those industries which were sick units. Okay, then what the finance ministry did in 1991-92 is that in the 1991-92 budget, the finance ministry decided to reduce the public sector undertakings share by 20%. Why it was done? So as to reduce the public sector undertakings importance. Okay, so as to reduce the importance of public sector undertakings, this initiative was taken by the finance ministry at that time. Then again in 1993, in the month of April, Rangarajan Committee was appointed. So what Rangarajan Committee suggested was that the government should reduce the public sector undertakings up to 49%. Okay, 49% means it is almost 50%. So if you reduce the public sector undertaking share in the budget almost half, that means it will have a huge impact on the industrial sector, especially the public sector undertakings. So so keeping in view of all these results, the government haven't responded to the recommendations given by Rangarajan Committee. Then the industries in Schedule A were reduced to 6 industries in 1993. Earlier there were only 8 industries under Schedule A. Then later in 1993 they were reduced to 6. And again in 1998, 1999 they were reduced to 4. Then again in 2001 in the month of May they were reduced to 3. So from 8 industries which were under the hand of government, they were reduced to only 3. So at present there are only 3 sectors which are completely under the hand of government, which are completely administered, supervised and run by the government units only. What are those things? The atomic energy minerals and railway transport. So these are the only 3 sectors which are under the control of government. So these are the only public sector undertakings. All other fields have been privatized. So the entire process, whatever the initiatives taken up, which I have explained to you till now, so all those initiatives were the process called privatization. So as a part of privatization, they have reduced the public sector influence in manufacturing sector. They have allowed the private entrepreneurs in the industrial sector. So as a result of which privatization took place. Okay. Then in 1996 August 23, G.V. Ramakrishna Commission on Disinvestment was appointed. So a commission was appointed especially for the purpose of disinvestment. What was that particular commission? It is G.V. Ramakrishna Commission. Remember this point. There may be some questions asked regarding the commission on disinvestment. That commission is G.V. Ramakrishna Commission. It was appointed on August 23rd, 1996. Okay. Not much. The recommendations of this particular committee is not much important. We are just discussing about this. Why? Because as a part of disinvestment and as a part of developing the industrial sector, government took this step. That's why we are discussing. Then for the process of disinvestment, the government appointed special ministry of disinvestment also in the year 1999 in the month of December. So you can understand how much importance was given to disinvestment by the government. Why the government wanted to disinvest? Why? Because there were so many units which were sick units. So as to get rid of those sick units and so as to give boost to those particular sectors to go in a developing way, Indian government undertook disinvestment. Okay, so a separate ministry for disinvestment was appointed. That's a very crucial step taken by the government. Then the final thing is, by selling public shares as a part of disinvestment, Union government received 1,13,650 crore rupees. You can just understand to what extent the disinvestment was undertaken. So the value of disinvestment was 1,13,650 crores. So as a part of disinvestment, Indian government got the revenue, that is 1,13,650 crores, and it is between 1991 and 2012. So between this period of time, as a part of disinvestment, Indian government received this much of amount. Okay. Then the next crucial step taken by our Indian government so as to develop our industrial sector is the most important point, that is relaxing MRTP Act. What is this MRTP Act? MRTP means nothing but it is Monopoly Restrictive Trade Practices Act. What is this Monopoly Restrictive Trade Practices Act? Actually, this Monopoly Restrictive Trade Practices Act is related to the government actions so as to regulate and control the private industries in such a way that those industries should not influence our economic conditions in such a way that we could shrink into economic crisis. So as a part of that, Indian government has enacted a law, that is Monopoly Restrictive Trade Practices Act. Under this act, there were some provisions which were restricting the establishment of industries, and which have blocked the possibilities of expanding the existing industries. So all the provisions in MRTP Act, they were just hindrance for the development of industrial sector. So in 1991 Industrial Policy Resolution, Indian government decided to reduce the scope of Monopoly Restrictive Trade Practices Act. So that was the most crucial step taken by Indian government, and this step caused for the development of Indian industrial sector. So since 1985, industries with 100 crores of turnover were brought under MRTP, that is Monopoly Restrictive Trade Practices Act. So whichever company which had the turnover of 100 crore rupees, that particular company was brought under the purview of Monopoly Restrictive Trade Practices Act. All those companies have to follow the provisions present in MRTP Act. Okay. So according to the MRTP Act, there were some restrictions and limits for establishing new industries and for the expansion of the existing industries. But in 1991, as per the Industrial Policy Resolution, the restrictions were relaxed. So as a result of that, what happened? Big industries started to establish their units in India, and the present existing industries started to expand their own manufacturing units, and it became very easy for them to continue with their business. So why it happened? Because the restrictions were removed. So when much more industries were established, as a part of that, what happened? The production has increased, and as a result of that, they need more labor, so the employment has increased. So as a result of that, the economic growth also increased. So that's how the relaxation of MRTP Act resulted in the development of industrial sector. Then the next important thing is investment in the field of industrial sector in India. So the scientific technology and the foreign direct investment, how the Indian government made changes in both these sectors, that is the FDI and the scientific technology. So how the Indian government has made some policies and some how it took some crucial steps in both these fields so as to develop the industrial sector. That's what we are going to discuss now. In 1991 Industrial Policy Resolution, the restrictions on foreign direct investment and foreign investors, foreign institutional investment, and even the restrictions on export and import were relaxed. So that was the main crucial step. Earlier there was some cap on the export and import duty, means the export and import duty were very high, but they were reduced so as to give encouragement to exports and expand our exports value, and even to import the technology from other countries so as to develop our own industry, and even the restrictions on FDI and FII were reduced. So if we look at how the FDI and FII restrictions were removed, earlier there was 51% of FDI was allowed in most of the sectors, but later the FDI limit was increased to 74%. At present, if we take a look at the some of the sectors of manufacturing sector, 100% FDI is allowed in most of the sectors. So 100% FDI was allowed in some sectors, but there was some prior approval was required from the government of India, and even some restrictions were there which has to be followed so as to invest 100% in the defense sector. So there are some sectors in which 100% FDI is allowed, but there will be some restrictions, and some prior approval of government is also needed. So in this way, the Indian government has reduced the restrictions in the field of investment also. But one thing you need to note here, that the FDI is not allowed in which of the following which particular sectors in India. So we need to note those particular sectors. Why? Because some questions may be asked that which of the following sectors FDI is not allowed in India. So take a look at this point. FDI is not allowed in India in multi-brand retail selling, okay, even in lottery business, and in gambling also, in betting also, even in nuclear energy also. In all these particular fields, the FDI is not allowed. See, take a look at here. In multi-brand retail selling, the FDI is not allowed. But in single brand selling, in single brand retail selling, FDI is allowed. So in single brand retail selling, FDI is allowed, but multi-brand retail selling, FDI is not allowed. Even in lottery business, gambling, betting and nuclear energy, in all these sectors, the FDI is not allowed. Why? Because they may affect our society, they may affect our culture, they may affect our economy in a bad way. And for so many security reasons, we are not allowing FDI, that is foreign direct investment, in these sectors. So that's all about the investment scenario. Now let's move on to some other scenario. That is, in 1973, Indian government has enacted Foreign Exchange Regulation Act 1974, that is FERA. In shortcut, we call this particular act as FERA. It's very popular as FERA. FERA means Foreign Exchange Regulation Act. According to this act, what happened was that actually this act was enacted so as to regulate the outflow of our forex reserves. Remember, if our forex reserves are outflowing heavily, that means our forex reserves are getting exhausted. When our forex reserves are getting exhausted, then our country will not be having the power, the purchasing power, to import all the necessary technology and even the other things. And as a result of that, our economy may shrink into economic crisis. So as to avoid such a situation, Indian government has enacted law, that is FERA, which came into force from 1st January 1974. Okay. So this particular act was enacted so as to regulate and keep an eye on the outflow of the forex reserves. But the provisions under FERA were very much harsh. They were not allowing our Indian investors to invest outside our country. So there was not much development in our industrial sector. Why? Because our industrial sector could not expand to abroad. So that was the main point here. But in 1999, what happened was that Liberalized Act was introduced. Liberalized Act was introduced in the place of FERA. So what was that Liberalized Act in the place of FERA? That is FEMA. So FERA is the next big brother of FEMA is the big brother of FERA. So FEMA, what is FEMA? FEMA is nothing but Foreign Exchange Management Act. See, here the name changed and the provisions changed, but both are twin brothers, FERA and FEMA. After FERA, FEMA came and FEMA has replaced FERA. What is there in FEMA? In FEMA also there are some restrictions, there are some rules which are meant so as to regulate, so as to supervise the forex reserves of our country. It was meant to check the major outflowing of the forex reserves, so as to check the exhaustion of our forex reserves and help our country not to shrink into economic crisis. So this particular FEMA Act was passed and it came into force from 1st June 2000. Okay, this was the year. So this was about FERA and FEMA, and how FEMA Act was framed by Indian government, and how FEMA Act has provided our country for the development of industrial sector. So when the FEMA was enacted, our Indian investors got the opportunity to invest in the abroad countries also. As a result of that, our Indian industrial activities have expanded to outside to other countries also. So our industrial development began to expand. Okay, the next, it is very much important. And what is it? It is National Manufacturing Policy 2011. There may be many questions on national manufacturing policy. Okay, what is this national manufacturing policy? We need to understand this particular thing, that what is national manufacturing policy. What actually happened, we need to understand the scenario of Indian manufacturing sector. Then only we can understand what is national manufacturing policy, why Indian government has enacted this particular policy. What actually happened is that at present, if we take a look at our manufacturing sector is having the highest share in our economic growth. Okay, so in our economic growth, the highest share is of manufacturing sector out of these three sectors. That means our manufacturing sector has become the key sector for our development. And secondly, our manufacturing sector is contributing 15 to 16% to our GDP. Okay, 15 to 16% to our GDP. That particular thing is also gives clarity that how much important the manufacturing sector is for the development of Indian industrial sector and for the development of Indian economic system. If we take a look at the Chinese economy, the GDP contribution of manufacturing sector is 42%. Remember, half of the contribution of GDP is from manufacturing sector in China. So we can easily say that because of the manufacturing sector, China is going in the path of development. Even if we take a look at the historical evidences, countries like Singapore, Taiwan, Hong Kong, even the South Korea, all these countries gave importance to manufacturing sector. So they have framed some policies, they have enacted some laws so as to encourage the manufacturing sector. As a result of that, the production was generated. As a result of that, employment was generated. So when production is more, employment will be more, and when production and employment will be more, output will be more. When output will be more, the growth rate will be more, and as a result of that, most of the Asian countries today are developed countries, and those countries are standing on the foundation stone of development just because of the importance they have given to the manufacturing sector. Okay, so India, just understanding entire scenario, understanding the ground reality basing on the statistics and even the historical evidences, India has realized the importance of manufacturing sector, and the Union government on 4th November 2011 declared National Manufacturing Policy. So that's how National Manufacturing Policy came into being. And now, what is this National Manufacturing Policy? We need to understand this particular policy. If we want to understand what is National Manufacturing Policy 2011, we need to understand the objectives of National Manufacturing Policy. So let us understand the objectives of National Manufacturing Policy. Every year, the manufacturing sector's growth rate must be 12 to 14%. If there is an increase of 12 to 14% of annual growth rate in manufacturing sector, then our manufacturing sector could go in the way of development. So the first objective of National Manufacturing Policy is 12 to 14% increase in annual growth rate of manufacturing sector. Secondly, the GDP contribution of our manufacturing sector should increase from 16 to 25% by the year 2022. Thirdly, 100 million jobs, generation of 100 million employment in the manufacturing sector by 2022, by the year 2022. This is the third objective. Then helping the rural migrants and urban poor achieve the skill development, especially in such a way that they could get jobs in the manufacturing sector. So this is the fourth objective of National Manufacturing Policy. And the fifth objective was to develop the indigenous science and technology so as to strengthen the manufacturing sector. What actually happening is that in the Indian industrial sector is importing the technology from other countries, which is becoming an economic burden for those particular industries, and they are spending much more money on that, and as a result of that they are not making enough profit. If we have indigenous science and technology, then we don't need to spend much more money on the foreign technology, and we can have our indigenous science and technology, and we can trust on that particular technology, and as a result of that we can strengthen our manufacturing sector. So this was the fifth objective of National Manufacturing Policy. And even so as to face the international competition, we have to provide all the favorable conditions to our manufacturing sector in such a way that it should develop in such a way that it could face the international competition. Okay, the next one was encouraging small and medium scale industries. And so as to do so, our Indian government has got an initiative, that is Mudra. You all know what is Mudra. This Mudra bank is specially meant for funding or for the financing of the small scale industries and medium scale industries. So Mudra is one of the initiatives so as to encourage the small and medium scale industries. Then, so as to develop the manufacturing sector, Indian government wanted to establish national investment and manufacturing zones and even special economic zones also. Okay, even SEZ, which is called SEZ. So special economic zones were also established. And even the Indian government has classified the public sector undertakings into Maharatna, Navaratna, and Miniratna 1 and Mini Ratna 2. So these classifications were given to the public sector undertakings so as to generate or create a spirit of competition between the public sector undertakings itself. So this is how the Indian government wanted to develop our industrial sector, and these were the steps taken by Indian government so as to develop our industrial sector. Thank you.